As the man behind the curtain said, or the Wizard of Oz, I am Terry Healy. I'm a Vice President and Regional Manager for LIUNA, Labor's International Union of North America. Some of you may wonder who the laborers are. Well, I'll have to tell you. You look at any construction site, we're the first ones on the site, and we're the last ones to leave. We have been part of every building that you see here. Every building that you see here, you go into the convention center, all the way through, the laborers have been part of it. But just as important, everything you don't see underground, we do it. We do it all underground, whether it be the tunnels, the water, anything else. So everything that we can help with, we certainly do. But I want to begin, normally I would have liked to have mentioned all the important politicians in the room and congressmen and senators and everything else. But I would be here for 2 hours mentioning all the people in this room, because everybody in this room is an important person to us. So let me begin by saying thank you. Thank you to all the union members first working in this hotel that help us every day. Let's give them. I want to thank all the elected officials. Remember that your tough days paved the road for our brothers and sisters in organized labor to have good days. So thank you. Thank you to the staff and volunteers for all the hard work that they've done this week and in the weeks leading up to this event. Your hard work allows us to enjoy these special occasions. So thank you to the volunteers and the staff. Last, thank you to all the delegates and special guests. Please give them all a round of applause. We thank everything. Illinois is important to this convention, extremely important. Now a little bit of personal. One thing I love about the Democratic Party is that unlike the other side of the aisle, we are always looking to expand our table. We celebrate the diversity, which allows us to grow and achieve success. One delegate exercised that diversity by voting present at the roll call vote. And I don't know who it was, but I have to admit that while I support the right of that delegate to exercise their conscience, I fail to understand this vote. We are in a situation where we have to get Kamala Harris elected. We have to stop Trump. We need to show unity. In LIUNA, our conscience is the lockstep and 100% in support of the Harris-Walz ticket, which is the most pro-union, pro-worker, pro-migrant, and yes, pro-union ticket that possible. So we appreciate that. They are with us. They are with everything that we believe in. They are with everything that you believe in. So we have to be 100% behind them. So thank you on that. But while we're there, as we always are, we welcome people to the seat at the table. We want them to be at our table. But we must all agree that the consequences of this election for your constituents and for our members far outweigh the differences that we may have. We need unity in order to defeat Trump. We need that unity, so thank you. On Tuesday, Secretary Cardona made a hip-hop reference and said, you can get with this or you can get with that. Oh, it's going to get worse with this hip-hop, let me tell you. Yesterday, Kwame followed suit with Kendrick Lamar reference, they not like us. Well, all of you may be a little surprised to know that I do like hip-hop. Although I may be a little more old school. Are any of you familiar maybe with one of my favorites, Public Enemy? Well, when Donald Trump tells you he's for working people, remember, can't trust it. When he tells you he'll help the economy, remember, can't trust it. Help me, all of you now. When Trump says he is pro-family, remember, can't trust it. When he says he will lower prices, remember, can't trust it. When he says he'll build infrastructure, remember, can't trust it. And because we believe in freedom, the Democrats believe in freedom, and everybody in this room believes in freedom, and because we know we can't trust it, we must ensure that Kamala Harris is the next president of the United States. Thank you. And I believe the man behind the curtain will announce the next speaker. Thank you.
Now, please give a warm welcome to the stage, President of the Cook County Board, Toni Preckwinkle.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm very grateful to be here. As we gather for breakfast, I think it's important for us to remember that we are all blessed. We've been on the floor or in the arena as the first woman to be elected president of this country has been nominated by her party. As I said, we're all blessed. But lots of people whose work has been and will continue to be important to our success have had no such good fortune. Last night, Cook County Dems had a watch party for our workers and supporters. Hundreds of people joined us at the Chicago Cultural Center to share this pivotal moment. My political director, Scott Kastrup, raised the money for the event. Jacob Kaplan, our county staffer, and utility infielder Kelly Marie Murphy handled the logistics. I'm grateful, very grateful to all three of them. Thank you. I also want to acknowledge and thank Jesse Neves. It's no secret that at some point in public life, you no longer write your own speeches. And Jesse has been doing that for me for a decade and a half. Thank you very much, Jesse. Like all of you, I'm pretty tired. I just hope I can do justice to the remarks that Jesse has prepared for me. I want to thank our host, Terrence Healy. We're grateful for the laborers' presence and support today. And I'm personally grateful for their longtime support of my tenure as Cook County Board President. And on a personal note, my son, who was always interested in construction, started out in the Laborers Union and is now a superintendent in a job in Atlanta, expanding the Atlanta airport. So thank you to the Laborers Union. I also want to begin by expressing my gratitude to President Joe Biden. On Monday, I welcomed Joe to the city where I've been a public servant for nearly 4 decades. There are few people who embody the ideals of public service better than President Joe Biden. He's a fighter who believes that everyone deserves a fair chance. He believes in an America where decency, honesty, and dignity still matter. And in perilous times, he acted with dedication and vision to not only get us back to normal, but to make things better. Now, all of us must do everything possible to get Kamala Harris elected as President of the United States. With Kamala and Tim, we have a chance to do more than say no to Trump. It's a chance to expect more. It starts with understanding who they are and how they got here. Kamala Harris didn't come to this fight because she wanted more for herself. She came to make sure everyone has enough. Regardless of who you are, where you come from, who you love, how you worship, or how you choose to build your family, you deserve to feel safe, secure, and represented by our government. Here's the thing. You can't lead a country that you don't respect. The energy, enthusiasm, hope, momentum we're all feeling this week That's because Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are building a movement by standing with us, talking to us, and working for us. In the words of our future First Gentleman, it's time to fight for what we believe in, not just against what we fear. Because how are our young people supposed to dream of the future when they're scared in the present? And why would you speak up if you don't think anyone is listening? But Kamala Harris and Tim Walz aren't just listening. They're proving the true definition of public service. They're reshaping the way that our young people understand and engage with those who are elected to represent them. They're showing what it means for elected officials to serve as allies rather than obstacles. I believe that one of our responsibilities as an elected official and former teacher is to encourage the next generation of leaders. What better way to show our girls and young women that they can and should be involved and run for office than see a smart, tough, thoughtful woman of color fighting for them in the White House? While I've been in elective office for a little more than 30 years, I've been working to get other people elected much longer. When I was 16 years old, a long time ago, I was knocking on doors, licking stamps, and stuffing envelopes. Now, as head of the Cook County Democratic Party, there are fewer stamps and envelopes, but a lot of doors to knock. We need to turn out here at home, and we need to work with our neighbors in Michigan and Wisconsin to deliver those swing states. Because winning takes more than voting. In the wise words of our own Michelle Obama, we need to do something to make it happen. Thank you.
Now, please welcome to the stage Senator Dick Durbin.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. It is a joy to be with you this morning. I've been a little bit incapacitated because of a surgery and a little repair work that's been done, and I haven't been to all the events I wanted to attend, but I didn't make many after parties. Did any of you make any after parties? Well, the head rapper, Terry Healy, should have been the leader of many of those after parties. Great job, Terry. A few days ago, I was asked to say a few words at the convention. It was the earliest stage, and I talked about jobs and unions. I made a point of remembering a dear friend of mine and many of you, and that was Ed Smith. Ed Smith with the laborers was a remarkable man. I never knew a single person in my life who was more dedicated to the union movement. And from the beginning, through his father and his mother, he really set the standard for excellence when it came to representing men and women in organized labor. So I want to give a little round of applause here to Ed Smith, one of the real leaders. One of my jobs out in Washington is chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Joe Biden used to be chairman of that same committee, so he understands what we're setting out to do. What we're trying to do is to transform the face of the federal judiciary. So far, 205 nominees of the Biden administration have been approved to lifetime appointments to fill those benches. And I will tell you, they'll make a difference. When you hear in the news all the bad rulings from some of these judges, you have to realize that each one of them was chosen through the same process. What we're trying to do is to make certain that we have diversity that we've never seen before. That's why Joe Biden's promise to put an African-American woman on the Supreme Court, we kept that promise. Ketanji Brown Jackson is a remarkable person. We've also filled in those vacancies 60% women, many women of color, people who are coming to the bench with an attitude of justice that hasn't been seen in this country for years. and we're going to keep that up. That is just a small part of the legacy of Joe Biden, and I was happy to be part of it. But in the course of that, I met many people, I served with many people, and at one point we had Kamala Harris as the most junior member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. I want to tell you the respect that she has won in Washington to this day. When she was on that committee, she was the very last when it came to seniority. When they do the video clips of her asking questions, I realize she's the last person at the table, and it's hours before she gets her chance to ask questions. Without fail, there was a crowd waiting for her questions. Why? Because they were always smart and tough, and she didn't back down. That's exactly the kind of qualities we need when it comes to debating Donald Trump. Somebody who understands as a prosecutor and as a politician with heart and with determination that makes a real difference. But the story I want to tell you this morning is in the news that has been reported. J.D. Vance in Wisconsin yesterday lambasted the city of Chicago, called it the third world country when it came to crime. Well, I just want to say this. First, I want to salute the law enforcement officials who've kept us safe during this convention. In 1996, when we had our last convention here in Chicago, the delegation was nice enough to let me chair. I was running for Senate for the first time, and it was a beautiful week. The weather was perfect, just like this week, and we had a great convention, and this is a great convention as well. I'll admit to you, I was holding my breath, not sure what was going to happen, because I understand what can happen with demonstrators and protesters and such. But we have had an excellent convention, and hats off to those that did all the planning to get here. But I want to say one more thing about J.D. Vance, if I might. I know this man. Understand this. In the Senate, any single senator can stop the business of the United States Senate. J.D. Vance stopped a critical element of law enforcement and justice in America single-handedly. And let me tell you what it was. It was the appointment of a U.S. attorney. There are about 80 or 90 of those U.S. attorneys nationwide. They are the captains of the ship when it comes to critical elements of fighting crime, terrorism, stopping fentanyl from coming into our neighborhoods. And what we try to do through the president is to fill those vacancies with professionals who get the job done. J.D. Vance single-handedly stopped that process of the appointment of U.S. attorneys. It's been months since Joe Biden as president has had that opportunity. And I went to the floor, which is my right, to challenge him and say, why are you doing this? And he said, because this is so political. Let me tell you, during the Trump administration, we Democrats approved every single U.S. attorney appointment by Donald Trump without a roll call vote, with a voice vote. We couldn't have cooperated better. But when it came to filling the vacancies like the Northern District of Illinois U.S. attorney, J.D. Vance single-handedly stopped that nomination, as well as the one for Cleveland and all the others that followed. And when I challenged him on the floor and said, why are you doing this? He said, to protest your treatment of Donald Trump. Honest to goodness, he said that. And I showed a quote on a board on the floor that said from J.D. Vance, I want to grind the Department of Justice to a halt. We do not need to hear J.D. Vance preaching about law enforcement and the kind of communities we want to live in, and look at his record and see that he single-handedly stopped the appointment of a U.S. attorney in the Northern District of Illinois and in Cleveland, Ohio. That is what he has done. So when he gives us these explanations of what's going on in this city and this state, keep that in mind, and I hope the press will report it. Let me just also say this. This convention is a throwback to another era when people literally physically appeared. No Zooms, no Skypes, no emails, no text. We sit together in the great hall and we bind ourselves together in an effort that is clearly coming through. I don't know Tim Walz very well, but I know high school coaches, and I'll bet you all do too. He's an extraordinary leader. And last night, one of the most touching moments you might have missed, it just flashed across the screen. But he told the story about how he and his wife worked so hard to have a family, to make that personal decision and to go forward with IVF. I am blessed to have two twins that are IVF babies, if you will, and I'm proud that my daughter and son-in-law stuck with it long enough to see that happen. But when Tim Walz last night was giving the speech about building a family and the heartbreak that was part of it, they flashed to his kids. You might have taken a look at it. And there was one moment, it couldn't have lasted more than 2 seconds, when his son Gus stood up and pointed at him and said, "That's my dad." That was a great moment. Tim and Gwen Walz made the decision for their family. And for goodness sakes, that's what we all want to have the right to do. And that's at risk now in a way that I didn't think it would ever be. The state of Alabama, for a brief period, ended up banning IVF procedures. I remember the day that Tammy Duckworth called me. I was on the phone. I was on the road, rather, I think with Bill Houlihan in the car there. And we were headed from Springfield to Bloomington. And it was Tammy on a strange day. She said, "I got something to tell you." I said, "What's up?" She said, "I'm going to have a baby." I was just speechless to think what that poor woman has been through physically, the surgeries and all the things, that she might even have the possibility of having a baby. Well, she did, and it was a remarkable achievement, almost a miracle. And then secondly, she said 2 years later, "I need to talk to you in your office." And she came in and she said, "I'm going to have another baby." She said it a little differently. I'm not going to quote her, but she said, "I'm going to have another baby." And I said, "You will be the first United States senator to ever give birth in the history of the United States." "Oh," she said, "that's not true." I'm sure it's not true, but it was true. She changed the rules of the Senate so she could actually bring her baby on the floor of the Senate. Bear with me for a second. Of all the things I've done in politics, finding Tammy Duckworth may be one of the best, the very best. I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll tell you how it happened. I have 2 guest tickets for State of the Union address. Each time there's a State of the Union. And I said to my staff, "Do we have anybody in mind?" And they said, "No, we don't." And I said, "Well, why don't you call out to Walter Reed Hospital and see if there's any Illinois veteran recovering out there." They came back and they said, "We found one, and she'll be here this evening." The doors opened to my office, and she came wheeling in a wheelchair, full dress uniform with all the ribbons and awards that she had earned, and Brian, her great husband, pushing the wheelchair. It was about 12 weeks after she had been shot down over Iraq. And she had this big smile on her face, and I thought to myself, this is a remarkable human being. So I encouraged her to run for Congress. She won the primary. She lost the general, but she stuck with it. She served as head of Veterans Affairs, and then came back and was elected to Congress and eventually to the Senate. We are lucky in this state to have an American hero like Tammy Duckworth in the United States Senate. I'm going to wrap this up by also noting that one of our speakers down the line, and I hope it's soon, is Nikki Budzinski, who's the new Congresswoman from my district in Central Illinois. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my old Congressional seat. I didn't think the day would ever come when we would finally retrieve that seat, and we've done it with a quality person. Nikki is one of the very best, and what a friend of labor. I don't know that anybody can match her record on this. It's been my pride to represent this party in elections and to fight for candidates that really make a difference in the history of this country. My wife Loretta had created an organization called I Will, which has now trained 240 women to run for Democratic women to run for office. Many of them are sitting in the room like Nancy Roder, the mayor of Highland Park. I thank all of them for what they have done. I'm going to close with this. We've had fun. Now we got to roll up our sleeves and go to work. Go home and rest for 24 hours, but no longer. And once you've recovered your strength, get out and make a difference. We've got to make sure we do our job at home first, although we may not have the statewide candidates that we're usually used to. There are many good races. I know Chris Welch was here a few minutes earlier. He's got important races for the Illinois House and for the Illinois Senate. We've got to do our homework for county officials and build our party. But then we've got to reach out to our neighbors, particularly in Wisconsin. We should adopt that state, and we have in many respects, to be part of their organization to elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. The Illinois organization has been one of the best in history. We can show it with the people that are serving now. Now let's take that message and bring it home on November to make sure that we have someone to beat Donald Trump. That is the priority. Thank you, everybody.
Now, please welcome, from the great Commonwealth of Kentucky, Governor Andy Beshear.
Good morning. Day 4, good morning. Well, let me say good morning to the host state for the Democratic National Convention, the great state of Illinois. Folks, my name is Andy Beshear. If you don't know me, I'm the guy that last November beat Mitch McConnell's handpicked candidate by 5 points in Kentucky. I'm the guy that last November beat Donald Trump's handpicked candidate by 5 points in Kentucky. And along with all of you, I'm a guy that's going to help Kamala Harris beat him again this November. To introduce myself, I am a proud pro-union governor. I'm a proud pro-choice governor. I'm a proud pro-public education governor. I am a proud friend of your governor, J.B. Pritzker. I am a proud pro-diversity governor. And I'm a proud Kamala Harris for President of the United States governor. This has been a wild couple of days. Energy like I have never seen before. Energy that is going to help us win this race, but more importantly, energy that's going to help us get to a better place. I believe in this election, we're not just fighting to make sure that we don't go back. We're fighting to move forward to get to a better America. You know, it seems like these last 8 years, every day has been an us versus a them, a boiling point in our country where we've been asked to pick a side, and everything from the car you drive to the beer you drink. Somehow beer got political in there. But this ticket, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, is going to remind us after November that we are Americans first and everything else second, third, or fourth. They are a ticket that remembers that every day when people wake up while we're here thinking about this race, most people are thinking about their job and whether they make enough to support their family. They're thinking about the next doctor's appointment for themselves, their parents, or their kids. They're thinking about the roads and bridges they're going to drive that day. They're thinking about the public school they're dropping their kids off at, and they're thinking about public safety in their community. When we run and when we govern in those areas, we don't move our states to the right or the left. We move them forward for every single citizen, and this ticket is going to move this country forward for every single American. I'm here today because we've got to remember that as Democrats, we have to fight in every single part of America. We can't think about this country as red states or blue states, red counties or blue counties, because in each and every one of those counties, there are American families who deserve good leadership. You look at what's happened in my state now with a Democratic governor. We've broken every economic development record. We are on the best roll of my lifetime. We've broken the record for private sector investment, for new jobs, for exports, for tourism. We've got record low recidivism, and our drug overdose deaths have gone down 2 years in a row, giving us true hope. When we lead with our values of empathy, of compassion, of recognizing that every human being deserves respect and has dignity, then we do good things for all of our people. Why I'm excited about this energy is it's going to remind this country that what we look for in leaders isn't just members of a certain political party. It's people who are going to fight every single day to better the lives of all of our people. And let me tell you, this ticket's going to do it. Kamala Harris is smart and strong, and that's going to make her a good president. But she's also kind and has empathy, and that's going to make her a great president. And Senator, I know Tim Walz really well. You know, in fact, I was in this little thing called the Veep Stakes for a minute. JB and I talked a lot during that period. But let me tell you, she chose a great man, a great governor, a great friend of mine, and he is going to be an amazing vice president of the United States of America. And think about the contrast. Tim Walz is real. I mean, you see what you get. He is the same way on that stage last night as when we talked just about every other day. Think about a vice president who has been a teacher. Don't we deserve a vice president who's been a classroom teacher? Who's been a coach. And while all that's impressive, he has also been the lunchroom monitor. And some days, I bet, Senator, in Congress, we could use a lunchroom monitor helping us out. But just what he brings in the comparison to J.D. Vance. I mean, while Tim Walz is out there trying to bring us together, speaking with kindness, J.D. Vance is throwing out names to anybody he can. I mean, calling adults that have chosen not to have children psychopaths and sociopaths, pretending he's from my state. Well, let me tell you this about J.D. Vance. He ain't from Kentucky. He ain't from Appalachia, and he ain't going to be your vice president. This is such an important election. It's an important election because it gives us a chance to move forward. Now, hearing the senator talk about Tammy Duckworth's service, she's incredible, and so are you. Thank you all for your leadership. But it made me think about Tim's service in the National Guard and how awful it is that someone would attack someone who has given decades of his life to the National Guard. As Kentucky's governor, I've had to call out our Guard after the worst tornadoes in our history and after the worst flooding in our history. In the pandemic, when I sent our National Guard into hospitals, that's when our nurses took a breath and said, we will make it. We need more people signing up for our Guard at a time where we don't see it enough. We've got to lift that service up, and we've got to make sure we never make it political. And this is personal to me. You may remember when Tower 22 in Jordan was attacked by our foreign adversaries. We lost 3 service members from Georgia in that attack. What most people don't know is the Kentucky National Guard was leading the mission at that moment in Tower 22. And I saw one of the senator's Republican colleagues get on one of the news shows that day. And the first thing that he said wasn't, we have been attacked, our country needs to come together. That's what he should have said. It wasn't that he was praying for the families of those that have been lost. That's what he should have said. No, instead he used it as a means to attack people from the other party. We are not each other's enemies. This is not an us versus a them. And when people try to turn those most important things that we should all be together unified for into ways that divide us, it tells us that we have to win that next election and ultimately end this anger politics once and for all. So I'm going to do my best, travel into some of the areas that are the toughest. You know, in my state, we don't win with a red to blue strategy, we win with a red to pink strategy. That in each of these counties, if we can do 3 to 5% better, knowing that there are folks out there that are hungry, knowing that we all want a future where 5 to 7 states don't determine the presidency, where everyone is seen and heard and feels valued, where, well, we as one nation can get back to talking about real issues that impact the lives of our people and not just hurling insults at each other. So Illinois, I know you're going to deliver this November. I know you're going to continue to send great members to Congress. I know you're going to continue to show leadership in how you run this state and ultimately how you get out there and work during elections. And for that, we are really grateful. I am convinced that there is a better day in front of us, that if we don't lose hope and we continue to push, if we keep this energy high all the way through November, but then we recognize that elections are just a means to an end, it's not over that day. Right? The work after Election Day is about bringing this country together. It's about lowering the temperature. It's about making sure that we get back to being the type of neighbors that live out the golden rule in the parable of the Good Samaritan. And when we do, we will open people's minds and hearts. We'll give them the grace and the space to hear and to come on board. And I hope that tonight, while we are talking about the things that we believe in, that our leaders also look at that camera and say, folks, no matter what party you're in, there's room for you here. There's room for you in this campaign. And we see you, we respect you, and we want you to be a part of the special things that are going on. So this November, we are going to deliver a resounding victory. And then we are going to deliver for this country and get us all to that better place. Thank you all very much.
Now, please welcome to the stage Illinois Secretary of State Alexi Giannoulias.
Good morning, Illinois Democrats. It's so great to see you early in the morning after seeing many of you late at night. Governor Beshear, what a cool guy. Could you imagine my political future if I had a cool Kentucky accent? It would be amazing. Before I begin remarks, I want to give a shout out to my friend Terry Healy. Terry Healy singing Public Enemy was not on my bingo card today. I didn't know Terry Healy knew who Public Enemy was. I was impressed with Terry Healy before today, and even more so this morning. I want to thank my friends at LIUNA. And as Senator Durbin mentioned, Ed Smith was one of the best Democrats I've ever met. A great friend of mine. I would not be in politics if not for Ed Smith and the laborers, so thank you for all that you do. I also want to give a shout out to a group that doesn't get much attention, and that is the staff and the volunteers of DPI, the staff and volunteers who have worked so hard to put these breakfasts together, this convention together. They haven't just been working for the last few days. They've been working for months and months. So thank you, Lisa. Thank you to the volunteers and the staff for all that you do to really help it. Last point I want to make, and it's possible that I get emotional because I'm on so many pain pills. But again, to Senator Durbin's point, and I love Oprah, and I love seeing Barack and Michelle, and I love seeing these great speakers and the pageantry and the fun. But I have to tell you, as the father of 4 daughters, when I saw Tim Walz' son screaming, "That's my dad," I lost it. And I think as a parent, and as elected officials know, I see aldermen here, I see mayors, I see county chairmen. A lot of this job is thankless. There are long days, we don't get paid a lot, but I think everyone here, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, whether you're an elected official, whether you're watching on the couch, when you see a kid yelling, "There's my dad," that's what this country is all about. That's what public service is all about, and that's why we all do what we do. So that was a very special moment for me. This week we've heard a lot about freedom and torch passing, and it's only fitting that the handoff is happening right here in the greatest city in the world of Chicago. 16 years ago, Illinois Democrats lit the flame of that torch for our friend and my mentor and political inspiration, Barack Obama. While it's true that many of us, myself included, many of us would not have committed ourselves to public service were it not for Barack's example, it's also true that if not for many of the people in this very room, especially Senator Dick Durbin, the improbability of Barack Obama becoming president would never have been possible. Because Illinois Democrats believe in a dream, an American dream that says tomorrow can be better than today, that hope trumps fear, and that hard is just another word for don't give up. Illinois Democrats believed, before anyone else, in that skinny kid with the funny name, and in the process, we encouraged millions to enter politics, millions. We inspired the future and remade our world. And look, as we all know in this room, politics is not all rainbows and puppies and little kids asking for ice cream. That flame could look very dim at times. And with Donald Trump, in recent years, it may have felt like it would be snuffed out for our kids and for our grandkids. You see, we live in a time where people want to ban books, rip away fundamental freedoms, especially for women, that we didn't think was imaginable, and divide us with hate and vitriol. But Illinois Democrats don't give up, they get to work. And while all Illinois Democrats play a critical role in that fight, you know who does more than anyone else for our party, for our freedoms, for our families, and for our democracy? The men and women of Illinois organized labor. It's only fitting that in the birthplace of the modern labor movement, Illinois union members keep that flame of freedom alive. They have, and they always will. I want to thank our union members and our union leaders for being the backbone of our party, and more importantly, thank you for fighting every day as the backbone of our great nation, the middle class. If not for organized labor, I would not be speaking here today myself. You see, both my parents came to this country as immigrants, both of them separately. They came here with nothing. They didn't speak the language, they had no money, and they didn't know anybody. But because of the incredible promise of America, which promises that in this country, everyone deserves a shot. Everyone deserves a shot at a better future for their kids and their grandkids. And because of the power of unions to fight for those families who aren't born into riches and wealth, and who oftentimes, like my parents, have deep accents even after they learn the language, but who are willing to show up and go to work every single day for their families. I can stand before you today as Secretary of State, the son of two immigrants, of the greatest state in the greatest country in the history of the world. And I'm proud to stand and fight with my union partners every day, today, and forever. Let's give a loud round of applause to the men and women of organized labor. Now, I don't need to remind anyone what's at stake. We have a lot of work to do, 10 weeks. To Senator Durbin's point, rest for 24 hours, and let's get to work. We need people to go to Michigan, to go to Wisconsin, to go to Ohio, to go to Pennsylvania. Help everywhere you can. We have some of the best campaigners, the best door knockers here in Illinois that I've ever seen in my life. And remember the words of our favorite son, Barack Obama. Don't give the kind of help that makes you feel good. Give the kind that hurts. That's how we foster that flame. And that's how we create the next generation of proud Democrats, the next generation of proud leaders, the next generation of great public servants. And if we do that, whether or not we're on a national stage or whether or not we're in our kitchen in our backyard, our kids and our grandkids will say, "That's my dad." I love you guys. Thanks for having me.
Now, please welcome to the stage Senator Catherine Cortez Masto.
Good morning. Hello, Chicago. This is a great welcome for all of us. Thank you. We are very excited. All right, first of all, I don't have to tell you, your Secretary of State's phenomenal. Absolutely incredible. He did do a shout out to welcome you to all other states that need help, but he forgot Nevada. So if you want to come to Nevada and help us, we will absolutely welcome you. We will welcome you into our neighborhoods. We need your help. We absolutely do. I am so excited. Can you feel the energy? But here's the deal. I've been talking to people. I was just up this morning early talking to people. It is a joyful energy. It is a happy energy. That's what this is about, because there's hope. We see the potential for the future, and it is coming from really Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. How many of you, what would you think about the speech last night? Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. One thing I know, truly genuine, authentic, right? They came to a rally in Las Vegas. That was the last of their swing state rallies, and they filled the Thomas and Mack Center, which we hadn't seen in a long time. But here's the best moment to introduce future Vice President Tim Walz. We had a woman, a Latina, who was a teacher, and she was a union member. Thank you to our unions. And one thing she said is, you know what? The best thing I like about Tim Walz is not only that he was a coach and he helped shape our kids in athletics and give them that team spirit, but he was also a lunch monitor. And if you've ever been a lunch monitor, you know then you can be the next vice president of the United States. And in that moment, my sister, who's a counselor at middle school, and so many others went, yeah, he's right. I've done lunch monitoring. It is a difficult task. That's what this is about. The connection with people every day. Understanding the challenges that we all face. Connecting and saying, hey, I hear you, and I've got a solution. Now, it may not be the perfect solution, but it's at least an idea and a solution. Because the other folks, they're not doing it. They're fear-mongering, right? They're scaring people to the polls. And as actually Tim Walz says, fear works, but it's not inspirational, and it's short-term. And this is true. And that's the difference. This is the moment we are in. To really take that now and grasp it and show, wow, we can get this done. But it doesn't happen without all of you. This is it. This is the grassroots. You make it happen. You get us across the finish line. It's all of us together. And that's why I'm here. Thank you. To say thank you over and over again for the work that you do. I know it. I see it. Listen, in Nevada, we are a swing state. The only way we win as Democrats is if it's all hands on deck. We are knocking on doors. We are phone banking. We are curing ballots. We are doing everything. And we welcome people from all across the country who want to help us do just that. And that's how I won. My reelection, 7,928 votes. You heard me say that. I will never forget that number. It'll probably be part of my lottery number that I will always use. But that is it. And the reason why, do you know the reason why I won? In my race, volunteers throughout my state, they cured ballots. You know how many ballots they cured? 4,000. 4,000. That made the difference. And in Jackie Rosen's race right now, who's up for re-election, it's the same thing. It is all hands on deck now. She's doing everything she has to do, get in our state, talk to our voters, talk about the issues that matter to them. But now it is that grassroots that's going to pull her across. And she's phenomenal, and she's going to win. I can guarantee you. Now, before I do any more, I have to do a shout out to two incredible people. First of all, oh my gosh, Tammy Duckworth, she did an incredible job. She is so inspirational. I just love your senator. And by the way, we all came in together. We call ourselves the Sisterhood. It was me and Tammy Duckworth, Maggie Hassan, and Kamala Harris. And then unfortunately for Chris Van Hollen, he came with us and we said, okay, you can be part of the Sisterhood. And Todd Young, believe it or not, Todd Young, who's a great guy. But the other senator I have to do a shout out, you guys all know, but I get to watch him every day, and I'm always in awe of his comprehension of the moment and what needs to be done and said to bring it home, to make people understand and fight for this country. That is Dick Durbin every day. Every day. And if you know him well, you know if you're looking for a good book to read, just ask him. Yep. Right? Because he is well-read. And your entire delegation, this is why I am so pleased to be a part of the first branch of government that is crucial to keeping our checks and balances. You know, as I first got to the Senate, there was a time when I watched as the leadership, the Republican leadership, was really abdicating our role to the executive branch, to Donald Trump. And it was so frustrating. It is not what our forefathers had intended. It is not what this democracy is about. When we talk about for the people, it is about all of us, and those checks and balances are important. And now we've seen from our courts, which you hear from Senator Durbin all the time, our courts, to the executive branch, to that first branch of government, which is the legislature. They are just as important, every single one of them, and we have a role to play. If we are going to protect this democracy, if we are going to fight for our freedoms, and believe me, our freedoms are not free, we have to be out there every single day. We have to protect those three branches of government. I believe in that. And I know Kamala Harris and Tim Walz do as well. What is at stake is that future and that opportunity to make sure that when you meet somebody in your community, or you get to know somebody, or your children, or their grandchildren, or your business, everybody has that opportunity, those freedoms to succeed. And the system, the democracy that we so cherish, that other governments admire and other countries admire, that we are protecting. And it's the we in all of us. And it's beautiful. You know, I come from a majority-minority state. Nevada is now. It's beautifully, beautifully diverse. Third Latino, strong Black community, fastest growing AAPI community, 27, actually now 28 federally recognized tribes, 11% are union. Thank you, union. I grew up in a union household. And then our middle class, our middle class, strong, white, working middle class, that's our service industry. That's who we are in Nevada. And we're rural, we're urban, we've got it all. And to me, and this is how I know why Kamala is the right person in the right moment, it is not about picking and choosing winners or losers, or saying you're on my side or their side. It is we are in this together. And if we are going to succeed or fail, it is together. So let's come together and work and find solutions for that future. We are going into the 21st century. Think about this. We're in the 21st century, the dawn of the 21st century. Now we got to live up to it and lean into it and make sure we are a success. We do not want to go backward. And I will tell you, the other side is, I don't have to tell you on so many things, from women's rights and reproductive freedom, hello, think 1800s, right? It is outrageous to me, dividing us, picking and choosing who gets to live in this country and who doesn't. I mean, there's so much at stake, and trying to scare people in communities that really, they just want an opportunity to have that good job and give their kids a good education and succeed. You know, I've talked to so many of you before, and I so cherish the opportunity to speak with you at your breakfast. But it is true, and I believe this, and this is why I know Kamala Harris. She is the daughter of the American dream, just like so many of us. And she does not forget where she came from. I think of her as, and I've known her for so long, since we were attorneys general, she's like the big sister that you love, right? She's always looking out for you. If there's a bully, she's going to take it on, right? If you're having a tough time, she's going to call you up and say, hey, come on, you can do this, she'll prep you up, she'll keep you going. And she's the leader that we want and need right now to take us into that 21st century, to make sure that this country is prepared to grasp the opportunities ahead of us, based on our economy, based on job creation, and the opportunities for our kids and their future. And yes, addressing a changing climate that we all know is happening. We all see it. I see it in the West daily, from wildfires to drought. We see it everywhere. Not being afraid to say, yeah, it is happening, and here's our solutions. That's our opportunity. But that's our future. But we have to grasp it. Now we have to fight for it. We've only got so many days left, as you've heard, and this is our moment. We were talking about this. Are we riding a bubble or not? I don't care. Let's just take it all the way to the very end. This is it. This is the moment to ride that wave, and talk to people and let them know what is at stake. What is at stake? Because here's what I know. The moment that I decide between going backward and going forward is the moment when I was DSCC chair, and on January 5th, I learned that we flipped the Senate. And we brought in Mark Kelly, Governor Hickenlooper, John Ossoff, and Raphael Warnock. And we flipped the Senate, right? January 5th. And there was hope, and there was so much potential. And then January 6th came. And the right wing decided, no, we don't want you to move forward. We are going to push back. And we saw what happened to the Capitol that day. That is a stark contrast in my mind, in my life, of the difference between us fighting and the potential for the future and those that want to keep us back. And it's happening every single day. And this is our moment to say no more. We are moving forward, and we are taking people with us, whether you want it or not. We are going to fight for you, and we are going to move this country in a direction that benefits all of us. Because that is who we are. And by the way, that's what our founding fathers anticipated. Because it is the people making that decision. It is all of you. So thank you. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for being here early every morning. And I know we've had late nights. Thank you for knocking on doors. Thank you for phone banking, talking to your neighbors, talking to your friends, being out front. Volunteers are around here everywhere. Volunteers driving me around. This incredible couple was driving me back and forth to the center when I had to give my speech. They live here. We had a great conversation. I mean, it's incredible who we are. And we need to talk about it. It's okay. It's okay to lift up your neighbors. It's okay to be kind. Is it okay to say, yeah, we want this for our country and our kids and their future? That is we the people. That is what this democracy is all about. And I can't think of a better place to be than with all of you and riding this wave together, Illinois. So thank you, and let's blow the roof off tonight. Thank you so much. You guys are great. Thank you.
Now, please welcome to the stage Congresswoman Nikki Budzinski.
Good morning, Illinois Democrats. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's good to see so many of you this morning. My name is Nikki Budzinski, and I am proud to represent the 13th District of Illinois. A district in Illinois in central and southwestern Illinois, a district that I am so honored was once represented by our great United States Senator Dick Durbin. All of you in this room helped me flip this seat from red to blue in 2022, and thank you, thank you. And today I am what they call in DC a frontline Democrat, which means that I am one of the 26 most competitive districts in the country, along with my colleague, and I want to give him a shout out, Eric Sorensen in the Quad Cities, who's also doing a fantastic job representing his communities. One of the things I want to say, and I thank you for your support in helping both Eric and I win, is that, as you know, I'm a union Democrat. I'm a union Democrat. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the labor movement. I come out of the labor movement, and I'm so proud of that. It is really the issues that support working people that are struggling every day in this country to make ends meet that is my jet fuel when I go to Washington and the issues I think about tackling. But I also want to tell you another thing. I am very proud to be a downstate Democrat. Yes. And when I decided to run in 2022, for the first time in my life, I said I wanted to be a workhorse and not a show horse. And I knew that my district in central and southern Illinois expected me to go to Washington to not create more political noise, but to be a Democrat that was a part of solutions, a part of delivering real results for my downstate communities. And what I want to share with you this morning is that we're doing that. We're delivering. Democrats are delivering for downstate Illinois. And I'm so proud to be a part of that. I want to share with you a very special story that happened just a little less than a week ago. I was very, very honored to be in the White House with our great Senator Durbin and Senator Duckworth and my good friend, State Senator Doris Turner. Yes, let's give Doris a round of applause. I'm so honored to work with her. But we have all collectively, and I will say that both senators have been working on this for many years before I even showed up in the House, to get the site of the 1908 race riot that happened in Springfield honored as a national monument. Yeah. And I can tell you, on Friday last week, which would have been 41 days since the murder of Sonia Massey, we were in the White House where the president signed into law that important moment, making the site of the 1908 Springfield race riot a part of the National Park Service. And how important that is for our Springfield community that is still healing, is still in mourning. And why it's important is because as Democrats, we know it's important to tell the honest history in our country, that we can learn from our history. And when we learn and honor our history, wherever it is, whether it's dark or positive or light, that we are going to make a brighter and more equitable future. And that's a part of why our history and honoring it is so important. The site of the 1908 race riot, which was a very obviously dark moment in our country's history, out of that tragedy is a good example of what positive light and positive change can happen. The birth of the NAACP 1 year later happened in the state of New York because of that tragedy in Springfield, because they said, if this can happen in Lincoln's home, this can happen anywhere in our country. And they founded the largest national civil rights organization that to this day is still fighting for equity and justice in our country. That's what came out of that tragedy. And I would also say the other important thing about this moment is that it's the first time in our country's history that the site of a lynching, which did take place in Springfield, and Springfield was not alone in the state of Illinois, was the first time that a lynching site is going to be a part of our National Park Service registry. And that's really important. That's really important. So Democrats are delivering and we're honoring our history, but we're also doing really positive things in central and southern Illinois because we're delivering good union jobs. I am so proud that we were able, in the 13th District, a very competitive federal grant process to deliver 3 RAISE grants, 3 infrastructure grants to Savoy, to the village of Savoy, to the community of Edwardsville, to the community of Granite City. Why that's important, why infrastructure is important, and my brothers and sisters in the labor movement certainly know this. It means good union jobs, but it also means for our communities public safety. It also means economic development. And that's what we need more of in downstate Illinois. And so I'm so proud to tell you, to report to you this morning that we've been able to deliver that in downstate Illinois as Democrats. And that's so important. The third I want us to really highlight for you, and this was in partnership with our senators and our governor, is that we are now in central Illinois, what I like to refer from Decatur to Champaign, Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley. And I want to tell you just a little bit about what that means. Very competitive process. And just like the federal infrastructure law that President Biden led, that created those grant opportunities for us in infrastructure, the CHIPS and Sciences Act also provided this opportunity for our communities to compete to become tech hubs. And we competed in central Illinois, and we won. We were the only designated tech hub out of the Chips and Sciences Act. And what that meant was a $50 million federal investment in biomanufacturing and fermentation. And so you might be scratching your head, and what the heck is biomanufacturing? Biomanufacturing is because I come from a place where we grow some of the most corn and soybean in our country, and out of that comes agricultural waste. But instead of putting that in a landfill, we're repurposing it to create a whole new industry in central Illinois that will make yoga pants. Yoga pants. It's exciting. It's exciting. And in downstate Illinois, we don't always get those opportunities to create new industry, to create new opportunity. And because of President Biden and Vice President Harris's Chips and Science Act, we are doing that in downstate Illinois, in Silicon Valley. We're creating opportunity. Democrats are delivering for downstate Illinois. And I also want to say I'm so incredibly proud that we've been able to deliver in the 13th District $136 million in investment through community project funding. And what that has meant is millions of dollars in investment in our locks and dams, millions of dollars of investment in workforce and training investment in downstate Illinois and central Illinois, millions of dollars of investment in Black entrepreneurship and development, and an investment in water infrastructure. And as a freshman Congresswoman, I am really proud to say I was the #1 House Democrat in delivering the most community project funds for my district. Thank you. And so Democrats do deliver. And we deliver all across the state. We deliver for downstate Illinois. And I am so proud to be a part of that. I want to share, though, with you that I know we often think, and I know a lot of folks consider Illinois to be a blue state. But we all know in this room that that's not always been the case. And I can tell you, I'm looking at my good friend Glenn Fouchard, that there are counties in downstate Illinois that when I started my career were blue counties that are now ruby red counties. And there's a lot of talk about how Democrats have lost touch with rural America, with working class voters. And I will be the first to tell you that we do have a lot of work to do, but that we need to tell our story. The story I just shared with you, that Democrats deliver for our rural communities. It's not the Republicans. It's those of us that are fighting every day for downstate communities that want to deliver from the bottom of our state to the top of our state. And we have a very powerful story to tell. You know, I talked to you a little bit about Silicon Valley and corn and soybean, and my district is a big district that is stitched together by farmland. But it's a very working class district. I'm honored to represent constituents that are about 70% non-college educated. And a part of our path forward as Democrats is to talk about the path to the middle class does not require a 4-year degree. That the dignity of work could be exactly through a union apprenticeship program, a community college program, and giving people the skills and the training to get into good paying jobs right here, right now that are open in downstate Illinois. And I also want to say that a lot of the challenges that we face in our rural communities are not really much different than the challenges we face in our urban communities. That we have a lot more in common than you might think. But that for Democrats in these last 74 days, before we do go on to elect our first African-American woman president of the United States in Kamala Harris, yes, that's an applause line, that we need to continue to show up in our rural communities. We need to listen in our rural communities. Somewhere down the line, I feel like we kind of stop listening to each other. I think we need to show up. We need to listen. As Democrats, we need to go into rooms that sometimes are uncomfortable for us and have hard conversations and listen to what the other side is saying, because we can win those voters back. We can win them back, but we can't win them back unless we show up. We need to continue to build infrastructure like what Lisa is doing at the Democratic Party of Illinois in downstate Illinois. Yes. And I want to say to the many, especially downstate, all of our county chairs, but especially our downstate county chairs, I often joke with them that they don't do that job for the pay. No. but they do it for a deep love and a commitment to democratic values and to building infrastructure from the most southern tip of our state to the most northern part of our state. And they're committed to that. And it's not easy work sometimes in our communities, but we have to continue to invest in our county parties. We have to, in many counties, organized labor is the only thing we've got going on. And we need to continue to work and thank them for the infrastructure that they do provide us in downstate Illinois. And I want to say organizing, as I know many of us are organizers, sometimes starts with just a group of women in their kitchen with a bottle of wine writing postcards to other undecided women. We've been doing that really well in my district already, and I see some of my postcard writers. They're right over there. We've already written well over 10,000 postcards in this election cycle, and we got to keep that up. And we got to meet folks where they are and engage them where they want to be engaged and where we can engage them. Because I often say if they're going to come in and write a postcard, then my next conversation is, would you be willing to take a phone list? Would you be willing to walk a canvas packet? That's where it starts. That's where it grows. And that's what we have to do in these next 74 days. So I'm so honored to be here with all of you. Thank you for this opportunity. Let's get out there and win in November all across this state. Thank you.
Now, please welcome to the stage Illinois Comptroller Susana Mendoza.
Good morning, Illinois Democrats. Okay, my favorite tagline of today is Silicon Valley. That was awesome, Nikki. I love it. I'm going to use it all the time. It's so great to be here with all of you today. I want to start by saying, well, yesterday was my husband David's birthday. So happy birthday, David. He's the best. For everyone who is here, thank you for being here. Thank you for giving your all over these last few days. I know we're all running ragged right now, even me. I know. You didn't think it was possible. But I'm so thrilled to be here. I want to start by thanking Chairman Lisa Hernandez. Yes, our fearless leader here at DPI. And I also want to recognize Chairman Mark Gately with, of course, the man right there, right in front of us, front and center. I want to welcome everyone to Chicago. I know not all of you are from Chicago, but I know you're all in love with the greatest, most beautiful city in America. So thanks for being here. And I, of course, want to give a very special thank you and shout out to Organized Labor, principally our hosts of today's breakfast, our sponsors, LIUNA, and specifically my dear friend Terry Healy, my dear friend Jimmy Connolly. And I want to just say, Jimmy and Terry have been instrumental in my being here as your controller. They were the first union to hop on board when I was thinking about running for controller, when at the time you really kind of had to be nuts to take on that job and knew that the job was going to be to help take down Bruce Rauner. But these guys believed in me the first time they met me, and they've stuck with me ever since. And, you know, my dad never lived to see his daughter get into politics. He died when I was 22. But you guys, I love you. Big time. Big time. And the same is true about Ed Smith. So I don't want to start bawling my eyes out in front of you, but Ed, love you too, brother. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now listen up, folks. It's our time. We cannot have a repeat of 2016. And look, as the daughter of Mexican immigrants, the proud daughter of Mexican immigrants, I have to say that I can't believe that Mexico, known for its machismo because it's still there, elected a woman president before we did. How is that possible? We have a chance right now to make history. This time. Right now. Not next time. This time. We must do everything we can to make history, actually her story, in 2024 by finally shattering that glass ceiling and electing our first woman president, Kamala Harris. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, they cannot win. Donald Trump is dangerous. Let's not forget, as much as we would love to, that Donald Trump was already president once. It was a brutal, unmitigated disaster that hurled our country into a crater of mismanaged pandemic, death, debt, insurrection, and division that continues to this day, and so long as his ability to regain the power of the presidency exists. We cannot let that happen again. Now, we all know that as president, Trump played a pivotal role in ending federal protections for abortion rights. As our candidate, Kamala Harris, is fighting for women and our reproductive rights, that guy appointed 3 Supreme Court justices necessary to repeal and cause the downfall of Roe v. Wade. It's his fault. And worse yet, he takes pride in it. He takes pride in being singularly responsible for women across America losing access to their own reproductive decisions and rights. Now listen, ladies. Donald Trump has led a full-on assault on our reproductive rights. No guy, but especially that guy, should have any say in what we do with our uteruses. And I don't know about you, but as far as I'm concerned, Donald Trump has had access to way too many uteruses in his lifetime, and he shouldn't have access to one more. Not mine, not yours, no one's. Now, Donald Trump and his VP pick, J.D. Vance. You know what J.D. stands for? Just don't. Just don't. Just don't. Now, they alarmingly have both suggested that they would be okay with states moving to surveil women's pregnancies. Yeah, boo, don't boo, vote. Right? I heard that the other day. I'm listening. Now, that's some straight up weird, creepy stalker stuff. And we can't be okay with that. It's dangerous, and so are they. Now, Vance called the concept of universal daycare, quote, class war against normal people. I know, I'm not making it up. It's true. Yeah, this coming from the king of weirdos. Now, anyway, he suggested that parents who send their children to daycare value their jobs more than their children. I mean, can you imagine? It's truly hard to try to wrap your head around this level, this level of ignorance or just plain old stupidity. But that's the VP's position, folks, and we have to take it seriously and not allow him within 100 feet of the White House, your kids, couches, or cats. That's right. Damn straight. Now, Trump and Project 2025 are openly committed to gutting public education funding and abolishing the Department of Education. Now, imagine being a former president who knows no words larger than 3 syllables in length, advocating for less education. I mean, education is a 4-syllable word, so I get it. But come on. I understand his disdain, but we need to double down rather than dumb down our Department of Education and public education systems. In fact, Kamala Harris will invest in our kids' education because she already has. Now, don't forget that J.D. Vance wrote the foreword for Project 2025. He poses a serious threat to our country if we don't do our job and elect Kamala Harris this November. And lastly, Trump has called for the elimination of gun-free school zones and will use taxpayer dollars to arm teachers. Yeah, make this make sense. It doesn't. Our children are being shot to death, murdered in schools across America, and they haven't done a goddamn thing to take military assault weapons off of the hands or out of the hands of unstable and dangerous individuals in this country. Shame on them. We cannot let them win. This is why we must double down on our efforts to make the White House a Trump and JD free zone. Keep them away. And seat our girl, Kamala Harris, behind the resolute desk, in charge of the free world. Hell yeah. She's eminently qualified. She's experienced, and she's ready. We've had 250 years of male presidents. Now, as we're on the verge of electing our first woman president, Trump and Vance are offended. Pobrecitos. And you know what bothers them even more? That she's the daughter of immigrants whose skin isn't as white as theirs. Well, too damn bad. Get over it. It's our time. Right now. Right now. So, Illinois, it's our job to get this done. Listen, we've gotten our marching orders from the coach. I'm a former athlete. I always want to make my coach proud. I know we all want to make our coach proud. More importantly, let's make our country proud. Let's get it done, Illinois. Democrats, certainly in Illinois, we know how to deliver. So let's deliver big, and let's kick some serious ass, starting right now. Thank you. God bless you guys, and let's get it done.
Please welcome to the stage Vice President and Regional Manager of the Midwest Region for the Laborers International Union of North America, David Frye.
Hello, and thanks for having me. I was going to start out by recognizing Terry Healy. Then I realized I followed 2 United States senators, a governor, a secretary of state, a congresswoman, and then Suzanne Mendoza. Terry, I don't know what I done to deserve all of that, but I certainly do appreciate it, and thank you for what everybody said. Seriously, I do want to recognize Terry Healy. I consider him my partner. Not only that, I consider him my mentor. No. Really, give it up for him. He put this together. You can do better than that. I also want to recognize Sean Scott, who does the Midwest region politics for us in Springfield, Illinois. Danny Bianco for taking time out of his day to be here. He's the New England regional manager. Danny, stick your hand up. Look, I get the privilege today to introduce LIUNA's general president, Brent Booker. Brent is a third-generation laborer. He began his career in the construction department, where he later became the director. In 2012, Brent was elected as the secretary-treasurer of the National Building and Trades Union and served in that position until returning to LIUNA as vice president and assistant to the general president in January of 2023. On May 1st, 2023, Brent was elected as the 11th general president for LIUNA. In October, and I'm going to touch here and I'm going to be really quick, trust me. In October of 2023, Brent implemented a program called Labor's Rising. The goal of this Labor's Rising was politics and to get our name out there more in the community. He put a mandate out there that by November, 3% of our membership, 15,000 people, be labor activists, for the goal of hitting the streets with the primary eye on the real target on November 5th, Donald Trump. We now, and I don't know the exact numbers, the goal was 15,000. I believe we're well over 17,000. I'm sure he knows the numbers. I don't want to put them low, but I know they're probably higher than that. 22,189. By the way, even though I had to go behind everybody, I now have to go before him too. So I don't have a chance up here, okay? But no, his implementation of Labor's Rising has just been great for our organization, and it will continue to be great. I've been blown away by Brent. I've known Brent for well over 20 years now. And everything that he has done. When we go in our GEB meetings, we don't know what's new, but the thing that we do know is that it's positive. It's positive for the community, it's positive for politics, and it's certainly positive for our organization. The other thing that Brent done was started a program called In the Know. And what In the Know's purpose is to educate our members on our issues, basically their pocketbook, making them understand from the simplest terms possible about their pocketbook and giving them the knowledge, the wealth of knowledge to be on the streets, talking our game and helping us defend Donald Trump. Brent is a true champion for the middle class and for the union movement. He has took the labor movement by storm. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you my General President, our General President, Brent Booker.
Good morning. Good morning, Illinois Democrats. My name is Brent Booker, and I'm proud to represent LIUNA, the Labor's International Union in North America. I had the privilege of saying that Monday night in front of the DNC with nobody better for standing shoulder to shoulder than Senator Dick Durbin, who opened that segment because he's a champion of organized labor. Thank you for what you do every single day, Senator Durbin, for working people in this country and working people in Illinois. There's a whole lot of other elected officials in this room. I'll get in trouble if I start naming them out. But thank you for your commitment, for your service to what you do, for your constituents, for the people of Illinois, and for the members of the Labor's International Union of North America. And also, it's great to be in a union city. We've got public employees, we've got mail handlers, we've got LIUNA members cleaning the streets, making sure the water's clean and drinkable, making sure that everything that we do in the infrastructure in this city is brought to you by union labor. So it's good for me as I travel two countries to be in a union city, to recognize and welcome everybody else in this country for the show that we've had this week with the DNC. You guys have been a great host. Illinois has been a great host for everybody this week. We're on day 4. We're running on fumes. But today is the best day we get, because tonight we get a welcome and we get to get Kamala Harris to introduce herself to the world as the next president of the United States of America. It's fitting to be in Illinois, the most pro-union state there is. For what you did, absolutely. For what you did with the Workers' Rights Amendment. Illinois can never be a right-to-work state again, and never will going forward. To passing constitutional amendments to make sure that when taxpayers put their money aside for roads and infrastructure, it's only going to be spent on roads and infrastructure. No Republican take that money and use it for anything else. And making sure that state tax credits, when they're used for wind, for solar, for renewable energy, it's going to be built under a project labor agreement with union members, Illinois residents. Thank you for what you do with the legislature here in Illinois. Let me talk a little bit about what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did the last 4 years as president and vice president, and how proud we are in the labor movement when we hear chants on Monday night of Union Joe, when you see Joe Biden lean in on his speech on Monday night talking about unions and how proud he is to say the word union. Joe Biden brought the word union back in the American vocabulary from the biggest pulpit, the bully pulpit in the world, and we're all grateful for it, and we're all better for it. We're better for it because he had initiatives like the infrastructure bill, $1.2 trillion. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris made sure that that got across the finish line. The first thing he did as president was the American Rescue Plan, to put tens of billions of dollars into defined benefit pension plans that needed help. We didn't bail out Wall Street. We didn't bail out corporate greed. We bailed out American workers. It wasn't a bailout. It was just helping the workers to make sure that as they worked and as they continued, as they retired, that they were able to retire in dignity and continue to get those pension checks day in and day out. That's the first piece of legislation that he did. Then he went to infrastructure. Then he went to the Chips and Science Bill, bringing back manufacturing jobs to the United States. We heard Nikki, we heard Susana talk about what we're doing to bring American workers building American products back to the United States. Donald Trump talked about that for 4 years. He didn't do it. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did. And they did it from first day, from the first month that they were in office. He wasn't done with that. He went to the Inflation Recovery Act. Look, we've had our battles over the last 10, 15 years with some in the environmental community as to which way are we going to go? How are we going to build these wind projects, these solar projects, these offshore wind projects? Joe Biden and Kamala Harris stood up. They stood up to the developers. They stood up to the owners and said, if you're going to get American taxpayer dollars, you damn well better have a project labor agreement, and you damn well better be using prevailing wages, and you're going to build it with union workers. We have a seat at the table because of who Joe Biden is and who Kamala Harris is. We have a seat at every table at the White House, to the secretaries, to all the different departments in Washington, D.C. That's new. Hadn't always been like that. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris brought us in. And now we have that seat. Look, Kamala Harris has served an apprenticeship the last 3.5 years. Right? She was the apprentice to the most pro-union president we've ever had. There is no doubt in my mind that she's going to continue that legacy and be the next most pro-union president we're ever going to have starting in November. The first decision she had to make was who was going to be her running mate. There was a long list of people. We had a couple of them speaking today, pro-union candidates to be in the vice president stakes. But she settled on Governor Walz. And if you look at Governor Walz's record as what he's done in his career, from being a school teacher, being in the National Guard, to being a member of Congress, to being a governor, he's one of the most pro-union. I won't say that. I'm in Illinois, so I'm not going to say the most pro-union governor we had. We got one of those here. But he's been one of the most pro-union governors there has been for the policies that he's taken. Her first choice, her first decision was to bring someone who sees the world like we see it, who sees the world like you see it, who we can relate to, whom the American people can relate to. Every time you hear Tim Walz speak, you want to hear him speak a little bit longer. Every time you hear him talk about his policy and where he's at, you're like, hey, let's go grab a beer. Let's have a conversation about this. He relates to everyone like that, and she's no different. Look what she's done from the first day when she got the nomination, when she was the one who's going to lead this ticket to get out there, selling out arenas all over the country, battleground states, not battleground states, just connecting with the people. Letting Kamala Harris be Kamala Harris. Let her show what she's learned the last 3.5, 4 years under working with side-by-side Joe Biden to now lead the free world as the next president of the United States. Look, those of us in organized labor know a little bit about hard work. We know we got 74 days to go. Let me tell you a little bit what LIUNA is going to do in those next 74 days. We have 800 volunteers amassed. They're going to go knocking on doors in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in Nevada, in Arizona. They're going to use phone banks. They're going to go out and talk to the members on the job sites. They're going to talk to them about connecting those infrastructure jobs, those manufacturing jobs, those renewable jobs to their paycheck. We're not going to use letters. We're not going to use Washington, D.C. terms. We're going to talk about the paycheck. We're going to talk about their health care being paid. We're going to talk about the wages that get paid every Thursday and Friday. We're going to talk about the things that are important to our membership, not just once. We're not going to pick up the phone on Labor Day. I said tell them who they have to vote for. We're going to pick up the phone on Labor Day and the day after that and the day after that and the day after that to make sure our members see and know and hear the facts, Our membership is smart. When you give them the facts, when you give them the truth, they believe it. And all we got to do is do that every single day for the next 74 days. Now, I don't normally disagree with Senator Durbin, but I will now. We're not going to rest the next 24 hours. We're going to hit the ground running tomorrow. We're going to work our ass off every day for the next 74 days, and we're going to get Kamala Harris and Tim Walz elected as the next president and vice president of the United States. Thank you, Illinois Democrats, for what you do day in and day out. It's great to be in Chicago, great to be in a union state. Thank you all very much.
Please welcome to the stage Associate Political Director of the National Democratic Training Committee, Jocelyn Hunt.
Good morning, Illinois. So happy to be here today. I am part of the National Democratic Training Committee. We provide free training to candidates, staff, local leaders. If you're in this room, we have free training for you. Online, anytime, 24/7. If you're helping candidates, staff, anyone, please check out our website. We are a national organization, but we have our start right here in Illinois, based in Chicago, and for about the past 7 years have partnered consistently with the Democratic Party of Illinois and the Illinois County Chairs Association. Every single year we do an annual boot camp, so mark your calendars now for the third week of May of 2025 if you're running for office, and we will be providing free training down in Bloomington. So just wanted to quickly come up, share about our resources, traindemocrats.org. Keep it short, quick, and sweet. We'd love to see you in May. We'd love to see you on our website, and y'all have a great day. Thank you.
Now, please welcome to the stage our chair of the Democratic Party of Illinois, Lisa Hernandez.
Good morning, all. Aren't you proud to be a Democrat? We made it to the last day, and today, ooh, if we're not fired up now, just wait and see. It's been an enduring effort, I will tell you, to get this put together. And I cannot continue without thanking my staff for putting this together. And I'm going to ask, I know they're working, but I'm going to ask my staff to come up. As many of you can come up, because you need to know who they are. I need to reveal the team, the A-team, who has put this together, and this has been sweat and tears, it's been unbelievable. So Ben, Marina, my executive director, my deputy director, come on up. And folks, this is the team. Gwen, DeVille, Nick. By the way, Nick is the voice of God. Tyler, Wendy, Luisa, Eric, Hannah. Give it up for Hannah. She's been the planner of all this. Randall, Uriah, Mariana, Morgan, Maria. We have our interns, Aiden, Delaney, Molly, Josh, Angelie, Jay. Here you have it. This is my new familia. Thank you all. I also want to recognize the whole hotel staff for keeping up with us. Also want to thank those who have really made it possible for our breakfast to come to fruition. And it starts with Illinois Deliver board members, our labor family, who are the backbone of the Democratic Party of Illinois. We wouldn't be able to do this without you. And that is, I have to start off with UFCW because I'm still a member of the UFCW. I started off at Jewel Food Store. That's where that comes from. AFL-CIO, Teamsters, Ironworkers, LIUNA, ULICO, the Farm Bureau. And I have to recognize the Democratic County Chair Association, who we have partnered up to make this possible. Those are our buddies. My DSCC members, State Central Committee folks, I want to thank all the delegates. It's been trying, but I think we've been doing pretty good, don't you think? I mean, we're getting it done. We're getting it done. The speakers, all the elected who have spoken, haven't they tried to fire you up? Has it been a good lineup of speakers? What do you think? And most of all, I want to thank my family. Especially my husband, who's a retired committeeman out of Cicero, who really is responsible to helping me get here. My daughters, my son, my grandkids. Gosh, I wouldn't be able to do it without them, of course. We're here, well, here we are. Historic moment. I'm certainly very, very privileged and honored to lead this party. I made a commitment. It's 2 years this month I've been in this role. And my first adventure when I went out and took a look at what was in front of me, I soon realized we really had to really hit the road running, because what I heard was that there was an absence of the Democratic Party, especially down south, and the resources that were necessary in order for us to continue to build up the party. We needed that. And so, as you can see, we have a team of about 16. We have an operation, and you are hearing from us in every corner of Illinois. So I just hope we can make you proud, because this party has been, it's been a journey to build it up. And as I'm speaking right now, the boots are on the ground. The operation is being rolled out. I want you to know that. And many of you chairs know that because you've been communicating with the team. So while we are here at the DNC, and the DNC is to serve as the stage, as the setup, as the kickoff to that November election, that we get ready, fired up, that's right, ready to go, and make sure that we have our first Madam President, and I proudly say that we make sure that we get her across November 5th. And that is Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. So it's begun. And I ask, get fired up. This is going to be the day that is going to set the tone. Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm just going to share with you, and I think you can join me in this. This has become personal for me, in particular because after Roe versus Wade set us back, especially women, for me, it became very personal when I have 2 daughters and 2 granddaughters who have those freedoms that I had ripped away from them. So it's personal. And in one way or another, I think it's hit home with everyone here. So it's about our values. It is about our future. And this has become personal. So let's take that. Let's build that. Let's get there November 5th and make sure that our rights are protected, that women's rights are protected. Let's make this happen. Are we ready? Are we ready? As a proud Latina of Mexican descent, I have to tell you one slogan that I have been very proud to see utilize. And it started off with Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta with Si se puede, yes we can. Obama's used, yes we can. And now we should use it for Kamala Harris. Yes, she can. Let's make this happen. Thank you very much, everyone.